Hi everyone, I'm Sai Krishna, an experienced developer from India. Get ready because we are about to dive into a cool project. We'll be building our very own Airbnb-like app using Django and React. So we'll be building a platform for people to list their properties or even book others. If you are here to enhance your Django and Next.js skills or simply intrigued by the idea of setting up your own platform, you are definitely at the right place. Let's get this exciting project rolling. So this is what we'll be building by the end of the project. So this is the dashboard page. You have all the properties listed here, and you can go to a particular property if you're interested. You can see the title, photo, and then description, city, and the host details. It is host username, and then property type, whether it's a apartment or villa or something. You can see that here, and then amenities. In see listed amenities here, and then you can see the pricing. If you're interested in some other property, then you can click on that and you will see some other information. So this is all dynamic, and this data is coming from database through Django backend. So everything is dynamic. And for the front end, we are using Next.js. So all the pages are coming from Next.js and it is super fast. And then other than that, we have search functionality. So if you search for London, you can just select dates. Example, I want to select from here to here, and then I can give dates and I can click on the search and it works. And then we have this host your home. So when you click on it, you can list out your properties from your account. So this is something we have. And then we have login page. So you can log in from here. If you're a new user, then you can go to register page and you can register from here. You can register either as a host or a guest. So you can do that directly from here. And then once you're done with that, you can just come here and you can log in to your account. So this is the app which we'll be creating by the end of this project. So let's get started. So first thing we have to do is we have to set up our front end and back end project inside our local system. So for doing that, just go to any folder inside file system and then create a new folder there. So here I'm creating a folder source code for both backend and front end source code. So I will go to the folder. Then I will open that with VS Code. So once you have VS Code open, create a new folder backend and then open terminal and go to the folder backend and create a new virtual environment. So this will create a virtual environment inside this folder, and then we can activate it. Source env/scripts/activate. Okay, when it's activated, you will get this thing on top of this. So after that, you can install Django. So Django is installed. Now you can create a new project. So you can create using Django admin command. I'm using Django admin start project core, and I want the project to be created inside this folder. So you can see the project is created inside this folder itself. It's not creating any additional folder. So that's the purpose of this dot. So after that, I will create a new app. Admin start project app. So this will create an app called app. Let's test our Django project. So just run python manage.py, run server, and go to browser and then refresh. You have Django project running. So what's next? So the next thing we have to do is we have to edit some configuration inside settings.py file. So inside core, you have this settings.py file. You have to edit some configuration here. Uh, First, let's create .env file. So inside the project root, create .env file, and then let's maintain secrets here. Secret key. Let's put some string value. Okay, and then debug as on. Save. And then here, instead of using secret key directly from settings file, now we'll be using from .env file. So for doing that, we will install a library called decouple. So we will install it using pip decouple. So decouple is installed. Let's okay, let's import this config, and then we can use this function here. So instead of getting secret key from here, we will just get from this .env file, and then we will give some default value, some string, and then numbers. Same goes for the debug. So we will debug, and then okay. So by default, I want this to be false. It will take the value from here. By default, it will be false. And okay, we have this .env file, and we are getting secrets from here. And the next step is we have to include our apps here. For example, I created an app called app. So I will import that app here. So I can import it like this, or you can just import it like this. Both are fine. And third party apps should go here. So let's install some third-party apps, because for this project we will be using some third-party libraries. So we have to install them and we have to include them here. So what kind of third-party apps we're going to use in this project? So first one will be Django REST framework, which is very popular for building REST APIs using Django. It makes things very simple. And then we will use DJ REST auth. So so there is a library called DJ REST auth, which makes authentication super simple. You don't have to write any logic for authentication routes. All you have to do is you have to import this library, and then you just have to include this some configuration in URLs file. That's it. You get all the URLs and functionality required for authentication. It will be like a magic. So we'll be using that for our project. So for using that, we have to install DJ REST auth. So go to our project, open terminal, then install it. And then you need these two things. And also you need this. Let's see our requirements. Pip freeze requirements dot txt. I just want to check like what libraries are installed. Okay, Django REST framework is installed. DJ REST auth is installed. And other than that, okay, some other dependencies are also installed. This is looking good. For this project, we need Django filters package and also course headers, because this will be a microservice architecture. So front end needs to send some API calls for getting some data. So for that, we will get some course error if we don't install course headers package. So let's install it. Pip install course headers. I think, okay, this is not the correct name. Django course headers. Okay, it is Django course headers. So go here. You can just copy this, paste, enter. Successfully installed course headers. So let's see if any additional config is needed. Okay, we have to do this. Settings. Then let's add it. Then in middleware, you need to add this. If I go to middleware, and if you check it, it has to be in between. It doesn't matter, but it has to be before this white noise middleware if it is there. And you also need common middleware, which I already have. So you can see it's already there, so we don't have to add this. And there is no other config. Okay, course allowed origins. So let's use this. And so we are using a React app. So I mean Next.js app. So we need to put the URL here inside this course allowed origin. So whenever URL comes from localhost port 3000, there won't be any issue with course. So that is what it means. So we are putting this URL here. Suppose your Next.js app is in production and it is served from some domain, then you have to put that domain over here. So there's one thing, and we will also use django.contrib.sites package. This is mainly used if you are running multiple sites from a single code base, then this is very useful. And we will maintain this site ID, we'll put it as 1, save. And for REST framework, we have to do some configuration. So go to Django REST framework. And installation. Installation. Okay. Django REST framework. We need this Django filter package. Let's install this as well. Uh, Filter. Okay. Is installed. And then we need to put this. Okay. This is already there. I think let's check it. REST framework is already there, so we don't have to do anything. After that, we need to put this URL patterns inside URLs file. Go to core/urls.py file, and then you can add it over here. And then for here, let's import include. This is looking good. But if you remember, we are using DJ REST auth, and for DJ REST auth, we have this URL pattern. We have to use that here. Save. Okay. Third party apps. Save. Okay. This is looking fine. Let's do some migrations. Then manage.py, make migrations. Okay, there is some issue here. Cannot make name config from decouple. Okay, it's not it's not decouple, it's Python decouple. So you can see here it's not decouple. So pip uninstall the couple, yes, and then let's install python decouple. Now let's run the server again. No, migrations command. Okay, no module named API. Go to settings file, and it's not API, it's app, and app config, app.apps. Instead of this, let's just use it like this. No changes detected. Python manage.py migrate. Okay, you get all these tables like the base tables, which comes by default from Django, and you also get some other tables from this libraries djrest auth. If you want to check it, you can just open db browser. You have this db file created here. You can just click on open databases, and then you can go to the path. For example, if I go to path, you can see the tables over here. So this is all the configuration we have to do. Now we can check authentication routes. Let's see whether they are working fine or not. So first we need to run server. I run server and then open Postman. So inside Postman, I already have the routes for the auth. So if you want to check like what kind of routes are available, then you can just click on add request, and then you can put base URL. So here in collection, I added some variables. So one is called base variable, which will contain this URL, and I will call that variable from here. Enter preview, and you can see there is this DJ REST auth, and then API auth, and then admin. So let's go to core URLs and let's see like what is what. So you have this API auth coming from REST framework.urls. You just don't have to work on that. You can ignore it, and you have this DJ REST auth. So this DJ REST auth is like this particular URL. If I go, I just want to change it. I don't want this to be like DJ REST auth. Instead, I want this to be like API/auth slash save. Then I'll run it again, and you can see now it's like API/auth. I will go to API/auth. If I go now, you should see the current path didn't match any of these. Let's check what it's there. Okay, 127.0.1 slash API slash auth slash. Okay, now you have these URLs. I'll zoom it a bit so that you guys can see. Okay, now we have this admin route, API auth. Then this is for password reset. This is also for password reset. And then we have login route, logout route, and we have a route for password change. But where is register route? So register route doesn't come by default. We have to add that inside URLs. So let's see how to do that. So go to VS Code, and then inside this URLs, I will add this register route here, path slash API slash auth slash registration, and I will just do this. This will get the registration route, but for that I need to install this allauth library. So let's install this Django allauth library. So for that we can just do pip install Django all auth, enter. Okay, all auth is installed now. Go to settings file and here add the all auth, save, then run the server again. Okay, Django all auth is being installed using Jagus legacy setup install. Okay, that is fine. Go here, run it again. Okay, you can see registration route now. If you just go to registration, okay, get method is not allowed, post method is allowed, enter, and then you have to use slash and you need to give username, password 1 and password 2. So you can just click on raw JSON, you can pass username and password 1 and password 2. So for testing, I can just show you the route which is already present in my Postman. So you can use the same thing here. So as of now, we don't have isOst property, but we can use all other things like username, password 1 and password 2. If I click on send, what's the error? API/registration. Okay, instead of putting the URL like auth/registration, I can just do this. Slash enter. Okay, we need to run migration commands. So Python manage.py migrate, make migrations. No changes detected. But oh, did I include all auth? Okay, I included all auth, and also I have to include all auth/account and save. Now let's run migrations. This is looking fine. Let's migrate. Save. Okay, we have two new tables created. Now let's run server again. Let's check now. Okay, username with that username already exists. Let's give some other username. Save, run. Okay, 204, but it is positive. That means user is successfully created. If I go to database, refresh, I go to user, auth user, and if I open this fully, you can see user is created. I can also do login. So here for username, I will give username Sai Krishna Sai1, enter, preview. There is some error. API/login. What's the error? Okay. VS Code URLs. Just remove this auth. Save. Okay, you're getting key. That means it is working fine. So a user is getting created. I just open it. Yeah, you can see username is Sai1 and password is there. So a user is created. So now let's work on models. So models generally hold the structure of the tables in the database. So let's see like what models we need for this Airbnb clone. So go to VS Code and inside app, you will have this models file. Okay, here. So let's create some models which will be useful for storing the data. So these are the models we need. So one is amenity type model. So this model represents the type of amenities available in the property and it has a name field. which stores the amenity type, and maximum length is 100 characters. And then we have property type model, which represents the type of property. And then we have room model, for which represents a room inside a property. So it contains two fields. One is name and then capacity. So name will be something like the room name, and the maximum length it can store is 200 characters. And then capacity, like how many members can the room big, like what's the capacity of the room, so that we also store that information inside this room model. And then we have property model. So this property model represents a property for booking, and it has many fields. So first one is host. So the it represents the host, like it is a foreign key relationship from user model. So it will contain like who is hosting. And then we have title for the property, and description, and then price, and location, available start, and it is a datetime field, and then available end. So from which date to which date the property is available, we will store that information as well. And then we will have photos. So it is a many to many field, and we will create a photo model for storing photos. And then property type. So property type is a foreign key relationship with this one. So it is so we will store like one every property will have a particular type. For example, property type can be something like villa, apartment, or any independent house or something like that. So we will store that information, like so it will be one so it will contain one value, so we are having mapping with the property type table. And then we have rooms. So each property may have many rooms, so it is many to many field. And then we have amenities. So each room property may have many amenities. So this is another field which will be storing. And then we have amenity model. So this model represents the amenity inside a property. uh, so we will keep the property as the first field, and then we will store amenity type as well. And then we have another model for booking. So this is property model, and this is booking model. So in booking model, we'll see like who is the guest. We'll store this data, and then we'll also keep track of the property. So for which user, like which user is going with which property, we're storing that information. And then we have check-in date is a date time field. And then we have, sorry, it is a date field, so we don't have to store time here, so it is just a date field. And then we have checkout date. And then rooms, like how many rooms a particular guest is booking. We will store the room objects coming from here over here. And we have room booking model. So for each room booking, we will store the information like what room is booked, and also the booking data, like the booking ID, and how many adults or how many children are there in each room. And then we have additional models for keeping track of reviews of each property. So here we have reviewer. So reviewer is nothing but we are just using like any user can review a particular property. So it will be a foreign key relationship with user, that will be reviewer. And then we will have property. So a user can review some property, so we are keeping property. And then review text is nothing but the comment, like what review a user is giving. And also rating, like what rating a user is giving to a particular property. And then we have photo model, which we used over here. So every property may have multiple photos. but actually we have image field, but we are not using that for our project because it makes things little complicated, like managing files and everything. So instead of taking that complexity, I'm just putting URL, so you can search some photo from the web and you can use those photos for this photo model. And then alt text. So for each photo we will have some description, which will be there in this alt text field. So these are all the models which we need. So let's run migration command, python manage.py make migrations, and then let's migrate. Okay, we should get all these tables inside our database, and you can see whatever it's there, like app underscore some model name, that is the model which is present inside this app. So you're done with the models. So the next step is to put some testing data inside these models. So for that we will use seeders. So I will just create a seeder file here inside our app, and I will run the file and it will generate some testing data inside this database. So let's see how to actually seed some data. So inside this app folder, create a folder called management, and then inside this create commands folder, and I will create a file called seed underscore db dot py. So this is how our seed underscore db file looks like. So we are just importing this base command class initially, and then we will create a class called command, and we are inheriting from this base command class. And for the help, we are just putting this description, and we need to create this define handle method. So inside this we can put like we can create objects, we can assign some data, we can do all the stuff. So this name is important. So you will just override this class define handle, and inside that initially I'm just deleting all the existing data present in all the models. So once the data is deleted, we will create new users. So user one is creating doing nothing but like it's creating some new objects. And then here we are creating some individual objects. First we are creating the main data, the static data which can be referenced from other tables. So amenity types, property types, and some okay, photos. All these tables contain some static data. We're just creating that in like data. So we are creating some amenity type objects and then property type objects. Like here for amenities we are using this, wi-fi, air conditioning, pool, gym. And then property types, we're using villa, apartment, house. If you want to add some other properties, then you can add them here. And we are adding some rooms. So we are creating master bedroom, guest bedroom, living room, and all the things. And for photo, we are creating some new objects. We are just passing URL and then some alt text. After that, we are creating some property objects, and we will reference the things on the top. And we will create some amenity objects as well, and we will just map the property with amenity type. And also we will create some bookings. We will use some users, and we will map them to some property, and we will put some random check-in date and then checkout date. So I'm taking a time frame of 1 week. So we are just keeping booking date, like adding 7 days from now, and then checkout date as like some date 14 days which from now. And then we have another booking at some other date. And then we have some room bookings and then reviews. Doing or writing all the things here will take a lot of time, so I'm just showing you the final file which I created. So once you have all the code, you have to run this command python manage.py seed underscore db, because the file name is seed underscore db. You just have to run it like that. And okay, it's not seed.py, it's seed underscore db. There is no such table auth social account. Python manage.py migrate. Okay, there is some issue. So let's do one thing. Let's delete this database. Just close this. Then I will run make migrations command again. And then migrate. And now I will run the seed command. Okay, so seeding was successful. If I open the database, the browser, open database, work. Okay, browse data. And if I go to photo, you have the data. So this is a lot better when you are building some front end from scratch, and many companies do this. So seeding is done and it's working. It worked fine. So now let's create some serializers for other classes and then some views, so that we can test them in Postman, and then we can move to front end. So go to serializers file, and so we are using Django REST framework. So I will use some model serializers for making things easy. So I'll just create serializers here. So first, we will create a user serializer, and we are inheriting from model serializer class. And then, so it is very simple. We are just uh, uh, telling that our model is user, and then we are specifying fields, because we shouldn't expose all the fields from user serializer, like password or some sensitive information. We only have to we have to limit information from user serializer. So we are limiting the fields here, and then we need a room serializer. So we will create a serializer like this for every model. Same way, we are defining that the model is room, and then fields we are putting it all, because it doesn't matter, because room model doesn't have any sensitive information. And then in the same way, we will create serializer for each class. So for each and every model, we are defining a serializer. So these are all the serializers we need. So let's go with the views.py file. So inside this, we will have views file. So we have to define all our custom views here. So let's start writing views. So let's start creating views. So first we will start with a property list view. Property list create view, and it should be coming from generics dot list create view, and the query set is looking fine. Let's import it from dot models, import property, and then from serializers, import property serializer. But in permission classes, I don't need this, because if you consider Airbnb or some portal, you can access the property list view from any, even without logging in. So I don't want this permission class over here. So I'll just remove it. So this is looking fine. So let's run server, python manage.py, run server, and let's run the API. So open Postman, and here go to properties. See, there is no API like that. So just create API slash properties. Should get all the properties, but actually URL is not defined. So after creating this view over here, go to URLs file. Where is your? Okay, it's not there. We have to create it. URLs.py, and then URL patterns is equal to path. It should be properties. I want this to be views dot property list as view. Good. From dot import views, save, and from Django dot URLs import path, save. And go to core URLs and link all the URLs. So DJ rest auth dot URLs. This is fine. Here I will just give it like API slash include app.urls. Good. But did we do something wrong? No. Okay, it's generics is not defined. Go back to views file. Okay, let's import generics from REST frameworks. Okay, import generics. Looking good. App.views has no attribute property list. Save. Okay. Run. Okay. Now if I check this, is working. Okay. This should be a get request. Save. And I don't need this body, so I'll keep it none. And body pretty. Yeah, you can see the property details. It's coming like so these are the property details. It's coming like a list, and you have this JSON inside list. So each dictionary, like each of this object indicates each property, and inside that we have the ID, title, description, price, location, everything. And in photos you can see the IDs of the photos, and for rooms you have IDs similarly. But if you want to get all the information, like instead of IDs you want more information, then you can just do it. So if you go to serializers class, you can see the property serializer. So here, let's see what serializer we are using. uh, Views, and I'm using property serializer. So go to property serializer and add depth as 1. If I do this, then you can get all the fields, like whatever that's present inside this one nesting level. And now you can see you're getting all the details like ID, name, and then here also ID, name, capacity, and here you're getting ID, URL, alt text. But if you see the host, you're getting all the excessive information which you don't need. You shouldn't actually print the password. So how can we fix this? So one way to fix this is by adding a field, a field over here. So if you see, it is host. So host, we can just use user serializer, save, and send. Now you can see it is only giving limited information. So this is looking good. So let's work on some other APIs. So we have property list create API. Now let's work on some other APIs. If you need to create if you want to create a property, uh, retrieve and update destroy view, that means this api actually runs for retrieval and updating operations, and also delete as well. So we are getting the query set, and the serializer class is same, but here we will modify the permission classes, because the permission classes should be something like is authenticated. We want only authenticated user to perform this action. If user is authenticated, then it is fine. So authenticated comes from this permissions from REST framework dot permissions. We will import this is authenticated, and we will also check like if it's owner, otherwise it will be read only. So what is this permission class? This doesn't come from the default permission classes. We have to create this permission class. So we will use this particular class whenever we need only owner to create, destroy, or perform some critical operation, and we don't want other users to do it. So that is when we will do this. So what this actually does is, so if you see Airbnb, there users can see the listing, the properties listing, without logging in. They can even check it specific property details. But if user has to make some changes to a particular property, then it has to be the owner. It makes sense, right? So it has to be like that. So for doing that, we are using this permission class, which is not there by default. So we will create a class, permission class, permissions.py, and inside this we will create this is owner or read only class. So it comes from permissions.base permission. We will inherit from this class from REST framework import permissions, and then we will define as object permissions. This is good, but we will check if request dot method in permissions dot save methods, then we will return true. So what this actually means is like read permissions are allowed to any request. So we will always get head or options request. So whatever, so if we get read permission, like if it is a safe method like get or head or options, then it is fine. We will allow the user. Otherwise we will check by the user, like if the user is like owner or not. If user is not owner, then we won't allow the user to perform critical operation. So that is what we are doing here, and we will import this permission class which we created just now. So from dot permissions import is owner or read only. Yeah, that is good. And is authenticated save p. So we have this class. You can test it. We can just post some property data, and it will just give us we'll just create that particular record. And then let's jump on to other API. So class booking list create API. So or let's call it view, because we are using the same convention over the top. And it will be generics dot list API create view. That is looking fine, but it should be from booking class. So inside from models we will import booking class, and we will have booking serializer save. and then we will import it from serializers, booking serializer. Save. For permission classes, we have to check whether the user is authenticated, and also we have to check if it is owner or otherwise we will give just read-only access. Actually, it's better if we check. Okay, first we'll check is authenticated. If user is authenticated, then we'll check this permission. So this is good, because unlike properties, we shouldn't allow user to check get the booking details, because it may contain some sensitive information, or it is actually a private information. So we shouldn't allow the user to get this info. So that is one thing. And during get operation, like while we are getting query set, we have to filter out the data by the user. So booking.objects.filter and guest. This is looking good. Yeah, this is what we have to do. And then we should create a similar class like booking retrieve update destroy view, which we created over here. And then query set booking.objects.all. Okay, this is good. And then okay, this is retrieve update destroy mixin. Yeah, that is good. So yeah, created, but we don't need this. For retrieve, yeah, we need this. So that is fine. So for example, if I just go to API slash booking, should give me data, but actually the URL is not still there. So let's go to URLs file and let's create a URL. For example, for the property retrieval, also we need to create a API. Sorry. For property retrieval, also we need to create a URL. So let's create a URL. So slash property slash integer primary key and property retrieve update view. That is good. And then we have to create a view for booking, bookings slash, and then we need that from views dot booking list create view. That is good. Then we need one for getting booking details. Yes, that is good. Yeah, save. Now let's go and let's check the bookings. Authentication details were not provided because we are accessing a restricted route. So for making API call, we have to pass this token. Let's log in. Unable to log in with provided credentials because user is not there. So let's create this user and let's log in now. Let's take it, and then we will just go to this new request, bookings, and go to headers. Let's give authorization token, and then uh, token value is this. Save, send. Okay, you don't have any, like this user doesn't have any booking details. That's why it is throwing, it is not giving any details. But let me take some other user. So I'll go to seed.py. So inside this, if I see the booking details, so they are under user 3. So who is user 3? So this is user 3 and this is the username of user 3. So let's log in with user 3 and then let's get the token. So first, the user has to log in as user 3. Password is this. Save. Okay. This is the token. And we will go here. And then we will make a request here. Save. And now you can see you have these booking details. So our permission classes are working fine. This is the proof for that. Uh, so now let's work on, okay, we haven't checked The other API like retrieve, destroy, what you have to do is like you have to just pass the ID. Suppose if you click on destroy, like delete, and if you click on send, then that particular record will be deleted. That's what going to happen. Okay. So we have all the APIs, like basic APIs for working. We can start with front end now. So let's start working on the front end. Let's remove all the files from our workspace. I'm using Control W, and then I'll just close this folder. I'll just open a new terminal, and I'll create a new next app. So I'll use this command npx create next app. I will give it front end. So would you like TypeScript? No. And ESLint? No. Tailwind CSS? Yes. Source directory? No. Router? Yes. Default? No. So this will create Next.js, and also it will install Tailwind CSS. So let's see the file structure. So we have this app folder, which will contain the main source code, and public folder, we will have static assets here. So first, let's download some Airbnb logo. So I already have Airbnb logo, so I'll just copy it and I will just keep it inside my public directory. So you can download it from online, and then open app folder. Inside app folder, create a file. Okay, you already have layout and page.js. You can uninstall this particular one. Before uninstalling, I will just show you how like by running the server. Npm run dev is the command. You can check all the commands from package.json. These are all the commands. So npm run dev. Okay, there is some error, missing scripts. Okay, I have to go to front end folder, front end, and now let's run this command. Okay, running on localhost 3000. So let's go here. I will just close these tabs. Localhost 3000. Okay, initially it will take some time. Yeah, our Next.js app is running fine. You can check it in the browser. And yeah, now let's delete the page.js. I don't want this. Save, will remove, delete. And instead of having page.js, I want to create inside pages, I'll create a pages folder. So in Next.js, you have a routing based on this pages directory. So whatever files you create inside pages directory, you will have routing according to that. So create this pages directory. So unlike React, you don't need any router specifically for defining routes and assigning components. You can just do it everything. Like you don't have to do that. Everything is handled inside Next.js. In this, I will create index.js, and then I will just use export default function home, and then it should return a div. Yes, welcome to Next.js. Let's check it. Refresh. There is some issue. Let's restart the server. There you go. You have this text over here. Um, but I don't want the styles which already exist. Except this, I need this. Other than that, I will just remove all the styles. So save. Then, is there any other CSS file? No, that's good. Okay. Now for using Tailwind styles, you need to import the CSS file from there. from this app slash globals dot css. Save. Sorry, save. Then yeah, you can see the styling got changed. Now let's define the home component. First of all, before defining the home component, so let's visualize like what our app should be. So our app should have a nav bar over here. I mean a header over here. Inside that header, there should be a nav bar, and we don't need any sidebar over here. It's because we are building something which is similar to Airbnb. Let's see Airbnb app. So they have a header over here, they have a logo here, and then this Airbnb your home globe icon, and then this button over here, and down they're listing the properties. So let's create a view which is something similar to this one. Let's try to create something similar like Airbnb. So first we need to create a folder inside front end components, because we will be defining all the components here, and we will call the components inside the pages. So inside components, we need one component for navbar.js, and for calling the navbar here, so let's remove this line, and instead of that I want to return a bulk, like JSX object. So here it should be a div, and then class name. No, I don't need any class. First I want to change the title. I don't want this title uh like localhost 3000. Instead I want some other title. What I can do is like I can call this head, and this head actually comes from this Next.js. So head from not app dot component slash head, it actually comes from next slash head. Save. And here I can define title like Airbnb Clone. Save. And if I open this, you can see Airbnb Clone over here. That is fine. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to define a navbar here. Navbar. And this navbar must come from this file. RFC navbar. Yeah, this is looking good. I don't need this. Save. And so I did RFC because based on the extension, you can download some extension for React JSX, then you will get all these features. So whenever I do RFC, it creates a component like this, the structure. So we have this navbar. Let's import it. Navbar, and then close all these things. Okay. And then we have we need to display all the cards in this particular area. Okay, so before going to the cards, let's quickly define the navbar component so that we can just move on to the next part. So go to navbar and let's complete the navbar functionality. So uh, we have the globe icon in Airbnb. If you check this, like we have this globe icon, menu icon, and everything. So for using these kind of icons, I'm preferring this. Uh, so for getting these kind of icons, I'll be using this hero icons. You open hero icons, you will get some icons like the support, React, Nextjs, everything. I think this is from makers of Tailwind CSS. Yeah, you can see it is from makers of Tailwind CSS. So for this project, let's use this hero icons. So for using that, you just have to run this command. So inside front end, run the command, and yeah, hero icons will be installed. For that, run the server again. Let's continue. This is the basic navbar and it is looking good. We have logo over here and the search bar over here, and then this host your home button. When we click on this, it will go to the login page, I mean create property page. And when you click on this menu icon, it will go to the login page. So this is looking fine. But if you remember, when we click on this search bar and if you enter something in the showcase, there was a date time thing coming up here where we had an option to select the number of users, I mean the number of guests, and also the range, like from the start date to end date. So for getting that functionality, we need to do something. So for that, I'm using a library, a date picker library, date picker JS. Actually, it's date range picker, date FNS. You search for that, you will see, yeah, this one, datefns.org. So documentation. So this is the library which we'll be using. So for installing this library, there is no installation section here. Let's go to GitHub page, and yeah, here you can see the installation step. Go to VS Code, open terminal, open a new one, cd front end command. Go back to the browser. Okay, we don't need this because both the same. Okay, this is installed. You can check that in from package.json. You can see, yeah, datafns is installed. So go to navbar and let's define the component here. So it will be inside a div, and I'll create another div inside a div, and here let's date range picker, and should be a closed element. close tag. uh, then let's import it. So import, we can import it like import date range picker from date react date range. Good. Let's check it inside our project. Okay, it is showing that date range picker can't be resolved. So let's install react date range library, npm install or I react date range. Okay, it's installed. Now you can run server, refresh. Okay, there is some error. Cannot read property. Okay, this is working fine. Actually, this is the find index. Actually, we have to define some properties when we are using this particular date range picker. So let's do that process. So go to VS Code and go to the date range picker. And here you have to give some, okay, let's give some class name first. It will be MX Auto. I want this to be centered. The range, the ranges will be from some selection range. So where does the selection range come from? So we have to initialize that as a state variable. So we will do that in few seconds. So we need main date, then we need range colors. I need Airbnb style, so I'm using this particular color. And then on change, I have to create handle select. So whenever some input comes or something comes, the values has to be updated. Like the handle select event has to be called. And I'll create another div. Search. Okay, we need attach an event listener to this number. So whenever so this is for guests. So whenever there is a change in number, I have to create a state variable first, then we can assign listeners. So I'll go to top, search input, fine. Need one for end date, end date, one for a number of guests. Okay. So initially the guest count will be one, and let's write the handle select function. So const handle select, it will take ranges, and then it will set the start date to this range dot selection, ranges dot selection dot start date, and it will set the end date to ranges dot selection dot end date. Save, and then we will define this handle click function. So when handle click is clicked, nothing happens. Fetch, nothing. And then we have const selection range, which will keep the start date, end date, and the key. Okay. So if I go to the browser, refresh, okay, there is some issue. Use state is not defined. So let's port this use state. Then state. Yeah. User icon is not defined. Users icon. User icon. It should be users icon. Save. Yeah. Now you can see you're getting the same thing like a picker, like a date picker. You can select the end date. For example, in March, if I want to select from here, like to here, then I can do that. And I can increase, I can keep the guest count here. But if you see the initially the guest count is not set, and also the search is not working. So let's fix it. So go here, and here we have to assign this input field to some function, so that the number, so whenever we change the number of guests, the thing the state should be updated. So on change, we will take the event, and then we will set the number of guests to guess uh, with e dot target dot value. This is looking good. After that, we will get the value. Second, okay, it should be outside this value, and it should get from number of guests, and the min value should be 1, and the max value should be 5. Save, refresh. Yes, the you can see uh, as we kept the min value as 1, and also the number of guests, the initial value as number of guests, it comes from here, and initially we are keeping it 1. So the number of guests is kept as 1, and as we increase, the function will be called, okay, set number of guests is not defined. Set number of guests. Okay, now it will work. Okay, and it won't allow us to go beyond 5. So that is good. And we forgot to do something. Okay, here for the middle element, for the search element, we are not keeping track of the change. So let's add that. So on change, we will take the E, and we will update the set search input to this particular value. This is good. And now look, now you can see this is a little close to Airbnb, but it is not center. I want this to be in the center. So for that, we have to add some CSS class over here. So the header is fine. The issue is with the middle element. So middle element, we have a div, and then input. This is looking fine. And here we have this div and div. We have to add some style here. Class name, flex, align, center, and margin y should be 3. Now you can see it's centered. Everything is centered. But whenever you go to the page, it is appearing even without entering anything. So this is not a good design. So the design should be something like whenever we enter something, this thing should appear. So for doing that, we can render this conditionally. So that's how we are going to do it. So we will check this search input value. If there is some value, then only we will render it. So for doing that, we will just that this search input and end, and then we will keep this inside a bracket. Save, and then okay, this should be outside here. Save. Now it is empty, but if we start entering something, you can see it's appearing. So that's how we're going to implement it. um so that's it for the navbar. I think this is fine. Now let's work on the login and register page. So as of now, there is nothing in the login page. So create a page inside this pages directory. Inside this pages folder, create one for login and then another for register. Register.js. So go to login.js, same way, RFC. I'll remove this one first. Okay. Don't use fetch. Use Axios. So we won't be using fetch. For this project, we'll be using Axios. So install Axios like this, npm I Axios. This will install Axios. Okay. After that, I will just call this Axios dot post method. It should be 8,000, and then API slash login word, and we'll pass username and then password. That's it. And we will get the response, and we will update the local storage dot set item with token value, whatever the token comes. So if you check the login API, so it is giving response with key with this key, and it contains the token. So I'm just getting the particular key here inside code. So you're getting response.data. This actually gets the JSON response, and then we are getting the particular key. And then, so if login is successful, that means we will send the user router.push to dashboard page. But the router is not yet defined. So let's create the router object here. Const router use router. So let's import use state, then use router, save, save. Okay, the handle login is done. Now let's work on the render function. So, so if Login page is looking good. Let's test the login page. I'm opening inspect tab and okay, Axios is not defined. Okay, import Axios. Where is this Axios? Post, save, then login again. And there is some runtime error. Okay, you need slash. Okay, request failed with status code 400. Unable to. Okay, there is some error with login credentials. So if you use proper credentials, then it will work. For example, I log in with I1. Okay, still there is some error. Let's use guest one and then password as this, login, and you can see user is successfully logged in and he is able to and user is redirected to this dashboard page. So login is working fine. Okay, this is the previous error which was coming. So let's write something for exception handling so that this error won't pop up. So here we can write catch error, and then we will see if error dot response. Then we will do console dot error, save, close this. Should be like this. Save, format document, save. Why this promises must be awaited and with a call to dot catch or end with a call to dot then with a rejection handler. Okay, this is fine. We are getting some suggestion. Okay, we can ignore some suggestions like uh, okay. So let's go back to the login page. Sorry, it is create property page which is not yet defined. Okay, the login page, we have it here. Now let's work on register page. So go to VS Code and let's go to register page and let's define the logic here. So same thing, RFC and save, register. So let's start from here. Start with setting variables. Email, sorry, email set, then username, then password 1 or 2, then or we can just keep it like password or confirm password, your wish. You can keep it either way. And then is host, that is host, then const router, use router, save. And we have to create a function for handle register when the register button is clicked. So we have to prevent the default action, and then we have to check like if password 1 is not equal to password 2, then we will alert password does not match. Otherwise we will just return. Then we will make a post request, axios dot post. So let's import axios and let's import use state and also use router, save. Then in axios dot post, yes, okay, API slash register, this is good. Okay, we have email and then password username, password 1 and then password 2. We are sending all these details and then we will get some response. So we will capture the response and we will set the token like this, and then we will push the user to login page. And then uh, yeah, and same way we will do some error handling here. We'll catch the error, we will check if the error is giving some response. If error is giving some response, then okay, then we can close the function here, save, and something with this closing here, this is closing here. Okay, this is good, and we can end the function as well. Save. And let's work on the main JSX. Okay. Our register page is done, but there seems to be an issue. Like with username, we have the username and it is coming properly. Okay, for password, we have to set it. Okay, it's password one, and HTML2, it's password two. This should work, but okay, the label, it's not there. Confirm password, save, and then password, save, and here I want this to be email, save. So we have email, password, confirm password. Okay, let's test it. Open inspect tab and then network user. I'll just give it some other username. I will save it with this email. Then password, I will just give it some random password. Register. Okay, there is some error. Okay, the error is 404 because there is no URL like that. We have to use this registration slash registration URL. So here, just change the URL to registration. Now let's go back and then fresh registration. Still we are getting error. Now we are getting 400 error. That means something is wrong. Okay, user already exists. Let's give some other username. Okay, it is successful. But we are getting some error. But okay, user is created. If I go here and if I try to log in with the credentials, user gets logged in. So login functionality and register functionality is done. Now we can work on the properties listing and properties retrieval page. So let's work on it. So let's start working on it. So first go to the index page. We can just close this navbar, login, register, and this package.json. Let's go to the index page. So this is where we will render the property listing. The entire property list is rendered from here. So first we have to get some data from calling this properties API. So we can just call this get static props. We can initialize a function. Then we can, okay, this is an asynchronous function. So we will capture the response. Let's change the URL to http://localhost/API/properties. And then we'll get the data and then we will pass the props with hotels. Save. Now if I go back and then if I check here, network refresh. Okay, there is some error. Hotels is not defined. Okay, so we are getting hotels, but we have to pass those props here. I mean, we have to uh, get those props here. So that's why we are getting error. Refresh from here because okay, this is not data. It should be hotels. We render it now. Okay, this is working. So Next.js is running it on the server and then it is giving the page. So we can't see from the console, from the front end console. So you can assume like it is getting the data from this API and passing here. So we have to use that data and we have to render that here. So let's do that. Yep. Awesome. So now we have to define this card component. It is not there, so let's create card component, then RFC. If I just look back in the page, refresh, card is not defined. So go back and import the card component, save. Yeah, you can see card. We have to, so the card, two cards are coming. So because two properties are present, so two cards are coming. If you want to show the cards, then like you have to like complete the card component. You have to render the image, title, description, price, everything inside this card component. So let's go to the card component and let's complete the functionality. So uh, def 1 by 4. I want this to take 1/4 of it, and then a def it should be so if I check properties route API slash properties, okay, it has property type photos and then photos.url. So it should be URL, and then alt image, alt will be the photo dot alt text, photo dot alt text. Take props, invalid source prop. The problem is invalid src prop. Okay, so you have to like whenever you are trying to render some images from Next.js, you have to render the source. Otherwise, Next.js won't allow you. So inside next.config.js, inside this, in next config, you have to define the images, and for that, the domain you have to allow it. For my case, I'm using a0.musach.com, then close it, save, reload. It's taking some time. Okay, it got out. Run the server. Let's reload. Okay, now you can see images, but there is no title or anything. So, page. So here in card, okay, the image is coming up. There is no issue with that. But we need some card and all, like I mean title and all. So down this. So let's keep it inside one line. And then the last name, font, bold, be props dot. Save and then refresh. Okay, you're getting properties here. uh, cool. Now let's go back to this card component page, and yeah, this is complete. So you can reduce padding or margin if you want, but I'm just leaving it for now. So if I go to this particular hotel, you have to like the property details should appear up here, but it's not coming because the page is not yet defined. So go to VS Code and inside pages, create a folder, properties, and inside this create a file called id.js. So this is a dynamic URL. So this is mainly applicable for URLs like this. So properties slash ID. So whatever the ID is, based on the particular ID, the data the data will be fetched and the page will be loaded. So that is how this properties page work. So let's start building it. So let's fix the layout. It is not looking good. This title and the description is fine, but these all other things should be stacked vertically, not horizontally. So let's fix it. If I go to layout, that's causing the issue. Let's check out. Change this to Airbnb Clone. Then this is fine. No issue here. Okay, I want this HTML body last name is equal to last name. This is fine. Instead of children getting printed directly or getting rendered directly, I want this navbar to be coming first and then the children. Okay. If I go back, now you can see navbar is there. But still, we still have to fix this issue. So there, let's go to this page element, and this is title, and this is fine. Okay, this is where the issue is coming. Let's justify between empty4, but why this is happening? Okay, this is flex actually. It should not be flex. If it is flex, okay, div, div. Then I want to remove a div from here. Save, then refresh. Yeah, now it is looking good. So I will just go to the home page. If I click on this page, you can see different image and different details. So this is working fine. I go to the second property, you will see some other details. But the only thing left till now is creating property. So if we click on this page, it should go to create property page, but there is nothing in this page. We haven't created it yet. So let's work on it. So inside pages and inside properties, create a new file called create property.js. And let's start working on this. So function Initially we will create state variables, and also if any final variables needed, we will just create them here. So base URL, I'll keep this http localhost 8000/API, and then let's create some state variables. I will create this form state. Let's maintain camel casing and set form state, use state, and then it should have title and then description, location, price, available start, available end, and then property type. Property type should be like name, and then this object, JavaScript object, and then we need photos, and it should be a list, and should contain URL and alt text, and you can give some default alt text image, and then for rooms it should be same like the photos. It should be a list, and it should have name and capacity. uh, by default we can keep it 3, because if we have to define all the fields, like for each field, like we if we are trying to create something like multiple rooms and multiple photos setup, it's going to be really complicated, and it's going to take a lot of time. So for simplicity, I'm just assuming that capacity by default is 3, and alt text as room image. This will make things a lot easier. And amenities, name, save, and then save. Let's call the router, use router, save, and then let's work on handle input change function, handle change, which will get the e. So let's work on the render function first. That will make things a lot easier for to understand. So our return function should have a div. I'll just complete the function container. Equal to text, equal to title, placeholder title, then class name, let's width full, then adding s2, and border gray, border gray. So for submit, then border gray 200, be rounded, save. And similarly to the input, I just want to create a text area field, and will contain the placeholder type. It will be a little different, so let's it text area, then name it, then id, we don't need id. Columns, we don't need this columns field. You can just ignore it. If you want to assign some like width or height, then you can just use that. And format document, placeholder description, and then uh, class name width as full, founded, and on change handle change. And the same goes here, on change handle change. Okay. And I want to create something similar like to this text field. If it is text field and I want this for location, then location handle change, fine. Then and also it is required. You can just make it mandatory, required, save, and same way. But this type will be number for price, and yeah, it is same. And then we have date field, available start, and uh, we don't need any placeholder for this one. The class name will be same, and it should be a required field, required, save. And same goes with end date, date available end, and w full on change is equal to handle change and then full required. Okay, now we need a field for text and then URL for getting images, image URL, and handle change. But here this is a JSON. Okay, let's complete the functionality first. Let's write the boilerplate code and then we will change the function. So input and then write this for URL, text name, community name. Change rooms and 0. Okay, so we completed the boilerplate HTML. So let's see what's happening inside the return function. So we are trying to generate all the input elements needed for creating a property. So we are taking title, so property name, and then description of the property, and then we will be taking, okay, description, there is some spelling mistake, this is fine. Okay, and we have location field, price field, which is number field, and then date, available start, available end, and then URL field for storing image data, and then uh, we are having the room name. We're storing room details. As of now, we are just supporting one room and then one amenity, not one amenity. You can have multiple amenities, but uh, we are supporting only one amenity from the front end. For the simplicity, because it will get more complicated if we have to do multi-room, multi-amenity, and multi-images, everything. So for sake of simplicity, we are just going with one room, one amenity, and one property type. So uh, we are trying to create all the input elements. We'll take the data, and when user clicks on create property, the data will be sent to a post request to like, which will submit all the data, and a new property will be created. But if you see the state, we are not updating state individually. Instead we have a single state variable called form state, which will which will contain all the variables. So this is a nice hack to update a lot of values. So you don't have to create ton of functions. You don't have to create like set title, set description, set location, all these functions. Instead, you can maintain the state using a single a nice hack like this. So we are creating this form state variable, and it contains all these variables like title, description, and everything. And we will create a handler function which will take like, based on the call, like if handle change is called from this particular input, like description, then this description has to be updated. But we will create more complicated function like to handle this complicated stuff. For example, if handle change is called, then like if photos, like if you give some URL to the photos, and you want the photo URL to be updated inside this particular object, then there should be some logic for making it happen. So for that, we will we'll cover all these cases. Like um, for normal variables, we will store directly. For complicated variables, we will store it some other way. So let's work on the handle change function, because that is the main that is responsible for updating state. So I'm creating this const handle change, uh, and it will take the event and then parent field, and if it's not present, then it will be null, and index field, it may be null. So we are going to take all these fields. So let me show you. So here the parent field and index will be null, but in this case, if you see here, the parent field is property type, but index is null. And here parent field is there, and also index is there. So we will cover all these kind of situations. So okay, let's write the main logic for the handle function. So we will see if parent field is present, then we want this particular part of code to run. Otherwise, we will just update this new item. So new item, sorry, set form state of, we will use spread operator form state, and then we will get the target, like the name. So name is nothing but e dot target name, nothing is nothing but it will give this particular value. So if the parent field and index is null, that means it will just go to this particular body, which is setting the form state. So we are getting the form state using the spread operator, and then we are updating this particular value. For example, if this field is changed title, then only this title gets changed. So that is what we are doing here. So we're getting the previous data, we're spreading it inside a JavaScript object, and then we are taking the key e dot target dot name. We are getting the key, and then we are setting the value to this e dot target dot value. means whatever we enter like on the text field, that value will be updated here. The same goes for all these fields. For all these fields, but for these fields we have to do it some other way, because you can't directly set the state of URL using this function. So for doing that, achieving that, we will just um, do something like, first we will create a new variable, new item, means nothing but this particular object. So we will initially, it will be null, and we have two cases. For example, if index is not equals to null, or index is equals to null. So we will handle the two cases separately. So for example, if index is not equals to null, then we will get the new item, uh, and we will do the same thing. We will use spread operator, and then we will get the parent field. So parent field is already available because it is not null. So we will get this particular object available, sorry, parent field, and then we will set the index. For example, if photos values is updated, first we are getting this particular value and we are setting it to new item, and then we have index as 0 when we are calling it here. So we are getting the first item, so it is taking this particular object, as you can see, of 0, and then we are getting the name is nothing but for example, here if you see photos, the name is URL, and here the name is name, here the name is name. So for photos, it will take the URL. Okay, URL is not defined, so let me define it quickly. URL, save. And for other fields, it will be name. So you're setting the particular value with the value. So that is how you do when index is not present. If index is present, then you don't have to do this step. Instead, you can just do this directly. So copy, and then instead of getting index, I'll just set the value directly. So this is what we have to do. And once you update the value, once you get the new item, you have to set the form state. So you will take the previous form state, and then you're taking the parent field, so whatever that field is there, like previous field, and you are replacing it with new item. So that is what we'll be doing here. So this will fix the issue whatever we have, like this will take care of the complicate thing over here. This will take of the complication whatever that's there here. So that's great, and this is fine, this is over. Let's close the function, and save. Oh yeah, remove, save. There is some issue here. Okay, this is good. So we have handle change function, but we have to define this handle submit function. So down this handle state function, I will create this handle submit, which is a normal API call, very simple. So it will be an asynchronous function. Then we will just prevent the default action, and then we will get the token. We will get the response. Wait, axios dot post, or you can just use fetch function. Fetch base URL slash properties slash, and then we'll have method as post, and then headers, content type, then authorization header, authorization token, And then uh, second, just getting this particular value, and then we don't need this. And okay, then after that, you have to like once you okay, you have this header, and then you have this response. Okay, now you can get data from the response. So before that, you have to pass some data in the API call. So the body will be JSON or dot stringify of form state. So this is fine, and then we are getting response, and then we will check if response dot okay, then uh, we will push the router to slash property slash data dot id. So whatever the property gets created, whichever property that gets created, we will send the router to that particular route. And then we are doing console log data. Okay, there is some issue, then we will error the log. So that's it. Format right here, there is some issue. Okay, what's the issue? There is some um okay, to yes, now format document. Good. If I go to the browser, refresh, use state is not defined. So let's import whatever that's needed. Router use state, then that's it. Handle submit is not defined. So handle submit is defined, but we const. Okay. Styles are not applied, so let's import styles. App slash globals. I think this should be this. Okay. Now we have the form. I can enter some random data. Let's select something. And then here also I will select something, not the date which is older. I will select something which comes ahead, and I will give some URL, room name, and then amenity name, and then property type. Okay, there is some issue when we are setting property type. So form of parent state is not iterable. If I go back, if I check this, but there is some issue with this function. So if index is not equal to null, then it will go here. But in our case, for the property type, the index is null, so it will go here. So form state dot of parent field. So it has to be like this. It's not an array. So yeah, now if I enter something, yeah, nothing is happening. So it is working fine. Date, I'll give that date, end date, then image URL, and then name, unity name. I'll open inspect tab, click on send. I'm in create property. So there is no 404, that is fine. Okay, host, the field is required. So we should keep this host property like read only is equal to true. If we keep it as true, then it will work fine. But if you check the result, so it's getting object is getting created, but the host name it's coming from the user, it is fine. But you can see the photos, rooms, amenity, and property type are not coming properly. uh, we are passing it to payload, but it is not coming up here. So we have to fix this issue somehow. So for fixing that issue, we can change the serializer class. Like we can take the data from the payload and we can create instances while serializing, and like during in the serializer class during create operation, and you can return that in response. So that is how that is one way to do things. So let's do it. So here we have this serializer class, and we have this property serializer. We let's get all the other fields, like whatever that's missing. So we have photo serializer class, and read only is not true. We want to take the data from photo serializer, and we have room rooms is equal to room serializer, and then we have amenities equal to amenity serializer, many is equal to true, and then property type, it's not many is equal to true, but this is taking the from this is coming from the property type serializer. Okay, and then this is looking fine. Let's work on the create function. So inside the create function, let's get the photo data, photos data, validated dot pop photos, and for room data we get we'll get it from the payload, and then amenity data we can get it like that, property data, the type data we can get it like this, but it will contain the name type, we'll get the name, and let's create a property object temporarily. So we will use property dot objects dot create using with validated data, and after this we will go to each photo. For photo data and photos data, we will take like we'll take the property, and we'll put the photo data, and we will create a photo object, and then we will add this newly created photo to existing photo. As it is a many to many field, we can add a individual object like this. Same way we will just add room data like this, and then we will do the same thing for amenity type, and amenity will create a new object. But for amenities we won't create any new object. Instead we will try to use something from the existing one, and you can use it. So I'm just doing this for explaining you like various kind of scenarios. If you don't want to create instances for if each and every data, if you have some common data, then you can use that data like this. Instead of creating new objects, you can just get a particular object by uh, like this. You can query data, and then immunity data of name, sorry, immunity name of name, and then you can add it like this. So this also works, but instead of creating, you just get the existing foreign key, and then you sorry. So you can also you can do you can do this way also, like instead of creating new object, you will just get the object and you will assign it. So at the end we will just uh, property type, and then uh, objects dot create property type, then property dot save, and then we will return the property. Save, and let's go back. So let's cross verify once. Property type dot objects dot create, name is equal to property type, and property dot save. This is looking good. So let's create a new object now, and let's see whether it's working or not. So for property type, this is villa, this is fine. For amenities, okay, Wi-Fi, air conditioning, it's there. And okay, for amenities, we are getting some error. We are getting error like property, this field is required. So if I go back, let's check it once. Name is equal to amenity of name. That's fine. So this is not amenity serializer. It should be amenity type serializer. That is causing the issue. And user serializer, room serializer. Good. Now let's go back, run, review. Cannot resolve keyword name into field. Choices are amenity type ID, property underscore ID. Go back. Amenity name, amenity of data. This, but where is this cause? You cannot resolve name into field. If I go back, okay, this is 500 error, so you can check it from the terminal. So it is coming from amenity.objects.get. Okay, this is what error, this is where error is coming. So if I go to here, okay, I think this should be okay. This is amenity type. This is not amenity. Yeah, save, run. Okay, data is created, and you can see now the rooms are filled with some data, and then the property type is still null. We have to fix it. Other than that, um, this rooms, amenities, and photos are is working fine. So why property type is still returning null? Dot create name is equal to property type. So property type is coming like this: property type name. So if I go here, here you can see property type is a normal object, and it has a field name. So we are trying to get the same thing, but we are still. So instead of calling it like this, you can just like property type, save, and then the property type is null. because we are not assigning the value. So we are creating property type, but we are not assigning this property type to property. But now if I run, you can see property type is not null. So our API is completely working. So the issue is fixed. Now let's try to create some new property. So I'll create property like beautiful villa in Paris. I will just giving some description, and then location Paris, and then price. I'll just keep it like 100, and can give some start date and then some end date, and we can give some URL and then name, community type. Let's give it some gem property. We can give some property type like villa, create property, and hola. You can see a new property is created with the title, description, and then location, price, everything. If I go back, and I can see the same thing over here, Paris, the title. I can go inside and I can visit the details. Congratulations on reaching the end of this project. I hope you found it enlightening and enjoyable. Remember, the beauty of programming is that there is always room for improvement and innovation. Please feel free to play around with the code, make your own additions, and truly make this project on your own. Keep coding, stay curious, and never stop learning. Thank you.